Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of From Sacko to Shiva. I'm Tom, and Chase will be the co-host today. Anthony will check in on Monday, I believe. Good to have him when he's here. This week, we're going to be going over injuries. We're going to be reviewing a first-round 12-team draft just to check in and see how the players are doing. We're also going to give you our starts and sits of the week. And with that, do you want to start?
Yeah, do you want to start with the recap, or do you want to start with start and sits?
Let's do starts and sits.
All right. So at QB this week, my start of the week is just solely matchup based, but Andy Dalton versus Indianapolis. If you have a QB that's on bye this week, you have a QB that's injured, maybe you're still struggling from the Aaron Rodgers aftermath, you need to pick up Dalton right now if he's available, or send a small trade for him if you can. And you just start him this week against Indianapolis. I feel like him, A.J. Green, Joe Mixon, and Tyler Kroft are going to have a day. And I'm starting him wherever I have him.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Andy Dalton.
Okay. My guy is my number one overall quarterback for the week, Russell Wilson, facing Houston. I'm not really keen on the Houston defense. In fact, I think Wilson's going to be all over him. The Texans have not done well against quarterbacks all year long. They've sieved points to quarterbacks, so I think Wilson is going to thrive in this matchup.
I could see that. So my next QB is a QB that's from the NFC East division. I mean, I had 3 QBs from the NFC East in my top 5 rankings this week, but I'm going Kirk Cousins versus Dallas. Kirk has been doing late in games, averaging about 3 touchdowns the past 3 weeks, and he's looking good. I'm really wanting to start him, or past 2 weeks, I apologize. I'm really wanting to start him just because it's that matchup where you know it's going to be a shootout because Dallas is going to get up and they're going to be chasing points the whole day. They need to win this game to even stay in the chase of the division. So I'm going Cousins.
Yeah, I like Kirk Cousins, one of my league favorites. My next guy is Matt Ryan. He's facing the Jets. I just have a feeling that Matt Ryan's going to have one of his big games just because I don't think the Jets have the personnel to stop what he's going to be throwing around.
I understand why you pick him, but I disagree. Matt Ryan just has not been the same Matt Ryan that he was last year. He is the Matt Ryan of 2 to 3 years ago, and he's not an every game start. And until I see it, I don't know if I can start him.
Well, you got to remember we're also down 8 quarterbacks to choose from too because of the bye weeks and the Thursday night game. So default, I think Matt Ryan ends in about 6 to 8.
I got a bet for you.
I'm not doing any more push-ups.
Come on.
Nope.
I'll bet you 20 push-ups. McCown has more fantasy points than Ryan this week.
Ooh, that's juicy. I don't want to do any more push-ups.
It's McCown versus Matt Ryan. I thought you were confident. Come on.
I am, but I don't want to do any more
push-ups.
Come on.
McCown. I'm saying McCown over Ryan.
Next week.
Man, next week he might have a better matchup.
All right, who's your running back?
Actually, let me go with my sit at QB.
Sit, okay.
Yeah. I'm sitting Cam Newton. I don't trust him. I don't like him. I'm not a fan of the player on or off the field. He hasn't showed it to me. Even trying to be a pocket passer, his passing percentage is still under 60%. I have no faith in him. The only person on that team I have faith in is Christian McCaffrey. And I'm a big Benjamin fan too, so that kind of hurts me. I have Benjamin in 2 leagues, and I'm just like, man, I'm scared to start Benjamin. So I'm going to bench Cam Newton. He's only showed it in 1 game, and that was the only game I said to start him in, and that was against New England. And before that and after that, it's so sketchy. I know against the Eagles, he had 3 interceptions and 1 rushing touchdown. He literally nerfed out the touchdown he had because he threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I love that game. That was one of my favorites of the year for Cam. So my sit of the week, it's actually both the same guy to me. Stafford and Big Ben, they're both playing against each other, and I'm just not a fan of either one of these guys. And I think the defense is going to be overshadowing what these guys do on offense. So I'm sitting both Big Ben and Stafford.
But my stat that I have for you is Stafford at Ford Field is averaging 19 fantasy points per game.
That Pittsburgh defense, though, is improved, and I think they're going to be all over Stafford.
Stafford's faced tough defenses. Even Atlanta was improved, but Stafford had a crap game until that 4th quarter, and then he does one of his comeback attempts all the time, like turns into Aaron Rodgers in the 4th quarter, but it's a little too late every time.
And Golden Tate is still injured and questionable to play, so I'm not investing too heavily in Stafford.
If I have Stafford, I'm not going to be like scared to start him. But if I have a better option, I will. Like if I had Andy Dalton over Stafford, I'm taking Dalton over Stafford.
Yeah, I would definitely start.
But if I have somebody else, like if I have Smith this week or Stafford, I'm going Stafford clearly because Smith has that tough matchup against Denver. So it's like I'd rather take my chances with Stafford versus that tough Pitt defense rather than
Pitt's defense or Denver's defense. Which one do you think's tougher?
Denver's defense.
I do too, but that Pittsburgh defense
because Denver has become a complete defense. They are still top 5 in run defense. Like I'm just saying, and like last year they were terrible in run defense. So it's one of those things. Like they have a top 5 run defense and a top 5 pass defense, where Pitt has a bottom 3 run defense and a top 5 pass defense. Like it's just one of those things, man. Like I'm gonna go for the team that, because eventually if you start running and getting the ball moving on the ground against Pitt, eventually they're gonna have to load those boxes.
And I still say Stafford struggles.
No, I'm not gonna say he's like Hey, like you said, Cousins had a good game last week against the Eagles, but it didn't happen until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they gave up some big plays to him. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like they kept like Cousins' garbage time still counts.
Yep.
So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Little controversy. Have that in there. Who you got for running back?
So my number one running back of the week is LaShawn McCoy against Oakland. Oakland doesn't really stop the run too well, and McCoy's been getting volume like crazy, almost 24 touches per game. And
Oakland doesn't stop anything. Well,
no, not anything. And he got into the end zone twice last week, which,
first scores of the season for him.
Yep. That's, I think, his longest streak to start a season ever.
Yeah.
So McCoy is my number one running back, and I'm going to start him in everything that I can.
No, I don't blame you. I'm actually going to go Melvin Gordon at New England, and it's just because Gordon is that offense. Like, you have to start him. He's pass catching. He's getting touchdowns in a receiving game. He's rushing in for touchdowns. If he doesn't have a good game, nobody has a good game, because he is that key cog to that whole unit, whole mechanism.
And the great thing about Gordon, he's getting a lot of that production too. He's getting at least 21 touches a game.
All right, I got a question for you. If you were wanting to get Melvin Gordon, what are you trading for him?
I mean, he's got 7 touchdowns now.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to give up maybe AJ Green.
Okay.
Gurley, something of that.
All right. If you want Todd Gurley, who's on bye, you want to trade for him while he's on bye, who do you give up for him?
Well, you get the 10% discount if he's on a bye week. Man, that's a tough one. I mean, I'd probably mix it in a secondary wide receiver. That would probably get it done. I
actually tried sending Michael Thomas and Amir Abdullah for Todd Gurley, but it got instant rejected, which I can see that. But I was just like, man, there's not a whole lot I can do. I need running back help in one of my leagues, so it's just, and nobody wants to trade me unless they'll send me trades, but it's Mike Gillislee for Keenan Allen, or they're sending me Joe Mixon and Marlon Mack for Antonio Brown, and I'm like, really, guys?
Yeah, you don't want that,
man. I'm not retarded. There's a reason why I haven't lost a game in this league. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you don't want that.
All right. So moving on, who's your second running back?
My second one, I just mentioned him, Joe Mixon versus Indy. Indy hasn't stopped anybody. They don't really play defense anymore. They just give up points like crazy. They've allowed 100 yards per game to opposing running backs and given up 9 touchdowns this season. Yeah. So I think Mixon has a big day, and that's why he's my number 2 start.
I'm starting to see a trend here, and I'm going to say, if you're listening, just start Cincy. Everything about Cincy, just start them. You're starting Croft, you're going to start AJ Green, you're going to start Joe Mixon, you're going to start Andy Dalton, and you're probably going to start their defense too.
It's a matchup.
My thing is to you is, so last week, Joe Mixon complained about not getting the touches. He's like, give me my touches via Twitter and social media. And most generally, the thought process is squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? But Marvin Lewis said that he expects more maturity out of his players than that. Now, that right there, he's always that player that's not always been that coach that's not going to bench a struggling QB in the middle of a game. He's going to play him out. He's not going to play circus wheel and all that. And he usually doesn't cater to his players. You don't see AJ Green complaining. Even when he has his moments where he's only getting 3 targets a game, and you're just like, wow, you should have been more involved. He's He's a player that needs to have 10 targets a game.
Mm-hmm.
But him saying that, I'm kind of curious. Do you possibly see a chance that maybe Jeremy Hill, like as a dark horse, like maybe in DFS, maybe start Jeremy Hill or Gio Bernard, take a flyer on them, like in a cheap DFS league, just because they're going to be like $3,000 and $3,800?
It's a possibility, but my question on the Mixon deal is, do you think the head coach is upset that he went to Twitter first rather than going to talk to the coach, and that's what he meant by being
More mature?
immature? Yeah.
No, I totally agree, because to be more mature, you don't go complain to social media. And for me, if I was a coach and you did that to me, like you try and embarrass me like that or undermine me by going to social media, I'm going to be Bill Belichick, do what he does. You're taking a seat on the bench this next week, because that's what, if you saw, even with LeGarrette Blount having 18 rushing touchdowns last year with Belichick, the year before, he complained about something and got benched for a game. The year before that, too, I think it was it Deion Lewis or James White? I think it was James White that had the 4 touchdown game, and he missed the first practice of the next week, right? Didn't show up. He was benched for 2 weeks straight.
Yep.
For missing one practice.
Different,
and it wasn't sick
styles.
or anything. But I'm just saying, like, some coaches are like that, and I feel like the way Marvin Lewis said that, like, I'm taking it a different way. I'm still starting Mixon if I have him. I'm just, man, like, in DFS, there's a couple of leagues where I took a flyer on Gio and Jeremy Hill, just because, man, if you're gonna, and plus with the trade deadline coming up, I'm gonna try and get something for Jeremy Hill before he's a free agent.
Yeah, it's a very interesting.
And with that being said, is it a showcase game for Jeremy Hill then?
I think it's a showcase game for Mixon if he does play the game. I mean,
no, like a showcase game for trade option.
For trade. I mean, what are you going to get for a running back? They're cheaper if you sign them in the offseason rather than trying to pick somebody.
You could get a conditional 5th round pick for Jeremy Hill, which
probably 6th. What we just saw.
Yeah, but that's with a left tackle though. I mean, or a defensive tackle. So like that's completely understandable. But I think it could be a conditional 5th round pick though, or a high side 5th round and a bottom side 7th round. You know what I mean? Just based off of
that's
because if I was a team that's having running back struggles, let's say Indianapolis, I would look at that. If I was not Arizona, because I'd probably still do it if I was Arizona.
Hill's been trending downward, so I mean the value you're gonna have to find somebody who needs to have a running back like him.
Well, I mean, Jacksonville did the same thing last week with T.J. Yeldon. Like that was a showcase game because they've been trying to shop him and trying to get rid of him.
He was inactive for the first few games.
Yeah, because they knew with Leonard Fournette, they knew they had what they needed, and Chris Ivory's the clear backup. You don't need T.J. Yeldon on their roster. So, I'm sorry, kind of got off track. So
we're on to your second running back.
Yes. Okay, this is one of my favorite players and all that, and it's Doug Martin with Tampa Bay versus Carolina.
Hamster?
Man, that guy, he is so small, but man, can he move? He can dance. He can do all this stuff. He makes people miss. He'll blow through you. Like, every now and then you just see flashes of greatness with him. I like Doug Martin versus Carolina, especially with Luke Kuechly still out. Luke Kuechly is the cornerstone of that defense. And without Luke Kuechly there, that defense struggles a lot. That whole team struggles on both sides of the ball without him there, because without that leadership, man, it's the equivalent of Sean Lee for Dallas.
See, and I'm struggling trying to fit in Doug Martin just because Carolina's defense is better than what people think, especially against the run.
Yeah, but once Luke Kuechly went out, they were doing great against the run, right? Until he went out, and Luke Kuechly went out against the Eagles, and then I believe LeGarrette Blount had a 80-yard game.
So I'm going to break some news
to you.
Luke Kuechly has passed the concussion protocol.
Oh.
He'll start Sunday against Tampa Bay following a 1-week absence.
I'm still going to start Martin. I still like him.
Martin, one of the other weird things that I noticed about Martin, and I looked up the stats, is his average per carry has gone down each week.
Here, I'll put a number on Martin this week. I'm going to say 2 receptions, 20 yards, a total of 70 rushing yards, and you can write this down if you want, and a TD. So we're looking at 15 points for running back 2.
Okay, I wrote it down.
I said it.
We'll see.
So I'm saying 15 points. That's what he's getting. His low side, I'm saying probably 13.
I still think he struggles more than that in this game. I'm saying under 10. Just me, though. I don't know.
All right, we'll see.
All right.
Well, actually, that's more than 15. I apologize. That's 17 points. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll say low side 15, high side 17. I'm fine with that.
I'm going under 10.
You're going under 10?
Under 10.
I'll take that bet.
I'll take that bet. Not doing it.
Come on, Tom.
So my number one start at wide receiver is Julio Jones against the Jets. It's another one of those things where I don't think the Jets have any way of stopping him. He finally got into the end zone last week. Another great thing. He saw 4 red zone targets last week, so they're finally getting him more involved in that passing game towards the end zone.
And what's funny is the first of those 4 was the 5th of the season for him being targeted in the red zone.
That is just nuts.
So after that game, he was targeted a total of 8 times in the red zone. And before that game, he was targeted a total of 4 times. I'm just saying, I don't trust him. I'm still starting Julio Jones. You don't bench him, but they need to involve him more if they're going to win games. And if they don't, that's why I'm against Ryan. That's why I'm the only time I see that team start moving the ball as of late, is through Devontae Freeman. He's the only consistent person moving the chains, because Julio Jones is double covered and Matt Ryan is not as accurate as he was last year.
I think that still has something to do with the offensive coordinator change, yeah. But I think they're starting to go in the right direction.
Well, until they go back to the Shanahan thing, man, I think it's going to be like that. All right, so my sit of the week at running back is Lamar Miller.
Yeah.
I am not starting Lamar Miller against Seattle. The only 2 running backs that I know that go into Seattle and have good or decent games is Todd Gurley and Carlos Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I can't name a running back that has decent games against Seattle, home or away.
Yeah, I don't want to touch Miller with that Seattle defense. I think they're going to be lights out against them. I forgot my sit at tight end. I mean, my sit at running back. It's Jordan Howard against New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I just think he's going to get that workload because they're not going to pass the ball.
They got to pass more than 7 times in this game.
Hey, Fox has 3 games where he's won where he's passed less than 10 times.
It's amazing.
God, only 10 times in the NFL, 8 times that team has won, 3 of them has been John Fox. I'm just saying, that's ridiculous.
That is crazy.
I doubt it happens again, especially because they're going to be chasing points. So I was wondering if a dark horse sleeper would be like Kendall Wright or Tariq Cohen this week.
Yeah,
just because of game
behind,
script.
yeah, why not?
Because I don't see them. I don't see them really throwing down the field at all. But I do see maybe you try and go Tariq Cohen a little bit.
I would say Cohen is the guy that you would probably want to go after this week.
So with I know Pittsburgh said they're not moving the player, right?
All right.
And I would like to see Martavis Bryant go to Chicago. I think that could be a good fit for him. He'd be the number 1, clearly. So he's going to get the targets he wants. You just need to have him fit your scheme a little bit better. But my other thing is obviously Chicago has a chance to win some games. I'm not saying they win the division or anything like that, clearly. But maybe they get a wild card spot. If they start winning. But they need to put talent around them before the trade deadline. What about Pierre Garçon from the 49ers? Because 49ers have to go in full rebuild mode now. So they should be shopping Carlos Hyde and Garçon. Those would be the 2 people I'd want to get rid of. Because those are the 2 people that you're going to get the most for. And I know we had just said running backs you're not going to get a lot for. But Carlos Hyde has a resume to, in return, get a 4th round pick. Yeah. I would be happy if I was another team and gave a 4th round pick for Carlos Hyde. Even the Eagles.
I would.
I would love that.
That's a good value, I think.
I think a 3rd round, I would want, if I was to give a 3rd round for Carlos Hyde, I would want a 5th round in return. If I'm giving a 3rd, you're giving me Carlos Hyde in a 5th.
Yeah. As far as being a franchise, I think that's the kind of deal that you have to make.
Yeah.
But Chicago, I don't think it makes sense to do that.
To get Garçon? Because who's their second receiver on that team?
They don't need one.
They need somebody.
Zach Miller?
Man.
They just made a trade with the Chargers. They brought in Dontrell Inman.
Yeah,
this week, so
that's not going to do anything though. That's
Yeah, it's not groundbreaking, but it gives them a wide receiver.
That was like Jalen Strong going to Jacksonville. You're not going to see anything happen with that.
Yeah,
he's going to make the practice squad next year, type thing. I'm just saying, but I'd be curious to see.
You got a
because
group
Pierre
of
Garçon,
players.
you could do like a 6th round 2019 pick, and they would probably do it.
Yeah, and you got that group of players that teams are probably looking at for those fifth and less conditional picks to improve their team. And I'm sure there's Garcon's in there, and I'm sure, Inman's in there, and Marcel Darius is in that. There's a whole group of guys that the NFL executives are looking at that they can get value at that fifth or later.
Yeah. All right.
So I did my number one wide receiver. Why don't you hit both of yours? And then
my number one is Adam Thielen at Cleveland. Yeah, I know Diggs is questionable to play, so it's kind of iffy, but the thing is Cleveland struggles against speedy slot receivers. Like, they just can't handle them. They actually have some decent corners there now that have been doing good, just like how Chicago, surprisingly, their defense is coming together. But back to Cleveland, Minnesota's going to have the ball the whole time. Cleveland's not going to move the ball on offense. Minnesota's defense is going to win the game. But Adam Thielen, I could easily see him have 8 targets, 6 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. And I know that sounds like a bonkers day, but if you look at Adam Thielen's past games this year and the last 6 games of last year, how many times has he done that? I don't have the stats right in front of me, but he's gone off for 100+ yard games, 6 receptions and touchdowns multiple times.
Well, he hasn't had a touchdown yet. He has 0 touchdowns on the season.
I could see it happen this week.
But it could happen. I love Adam Thielen. He's one of those guys that you root for because he put in all the hard work and he's done everything that they asked him to do.
Undrafted free agent.
I believe he has 34% of the market share when Case Keenum's been in the game. And that's huge. That's a lot.
So, yeah, I'm starting Thielen. I have an interesting thing for you. So, there is a chance that Bridgewater sees the field before Andrew Luck this year.
That's crazy.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I was a big Bridgewater fan and Blake Bortles fan that year. And, I loved them both. But I was like, Bridgewater's going to Minnesota. They haven't, it was before their team started to come together. But you see the last couple years, you got Xavier Rhodes and you got, who's that other corner? Trey Waynes. And then Teddy Bridgewater, and you see all these draft picks come in and they just start doing good. And you're like, man, you really get excited for that team. And for Teddy Bridgewater possibly be coming back, I think it's going to take a little bit away from Stefon Diggs. But I think you could see Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph take a tick up if he plays.
I think they still have 2 more weeks to decide whether to activate him or put him back.
Because he can start practicing. I think it was as of Wednesday. Yeah. I don't know if he has practiced or not, but it was reported that he was allowed to start practicing now, and or cleared to practice.
Cleared. Who's your other wide receiver?
My other wide receiver is a deep sleeper, guys. Going up against Oakland, Deontay Thompson of the Buffalo Bills. Now, see, my thing about this is last week he had 4 targets, 4 receptions, 107 yards. But when I'm looking at players, I like to see what coaches have to say about players. Now, Sean McDermott loves Deontay Thompson. Loves him. And you know what Deontay Thompson reminds me of? He reminds me of a poor man's Sammy Watkins for Tyrod Taylor. And if you remember what Sammy Watkins and Tyrod Taylor did when they were both healthy and both on the field, was great things. And I can see that same thing happening for Deontay Thompson. I think maybe you see an uptake in targets this week for him. I'm thinking maybe 6 or 7 targets, probably still 4 receptions, but I could easily see 80 yards out of him and a possible touchdown.
That's a GPP play right there.
Yes, that is a awesome GPP play. I actually had, because of buys and injuries and all this stuff happened to me in our listener league where I'm stacked at running backs because I've made some trades. I have Ezekiel Elliott now. I drafted
Gurley,
Fournette, and C.J. Anderson. And as a half point per carry, I'm good there. But now my best receiver is Larry Fitzgerald. I'm struggling. He's on bye. Kelvin Benjamin's my best receiver this week. I actually had to pick up and start Paul Richardson and Deontay Thompson this week.
Wow. So you mentioned Kelvin Benjamin, and he's my second wide receiver for this week. The Buccaneers secondary, they've allowed the most yards per game to wide receivers and the highest catch rate to wide receivers. So that means Benjamin's going to get open and he's going to be able to catch the ball. And in that kind of game, that's who I want to target, Kelvin Benjamin.
Okay. I can see that. I can dig it. All right. So my sit of the week is somebody who you love to start. And I will say this year, he's had a touchdown in almost every game. He's doing good. But he always struggles against this team, and he hasn't had a touchdown against this team, I think, in 2 years. and that is the Washington Redskins. I am not starting Dez Bryant. In fact, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. My start on that team is actually Jason Witten, because in those tough matchups where they have a tough secondary, Dak loves Witten and Cole Beasley. So I'm benching Dez because he's always struggled against Rashard Breeland. And on top of that, Josh Norman may be playing this week. And Josh Norman can shut him down. Like, he's one of those things you can put a shutdown corner on him and he's not going to do anything because he doesn't require a double team.
No, unless you're down at the goal line. And then
in the red zone, you're going to bring the safety over top of him and you're going to see Byron Jones come down. Yeah. Or not Byron Jones, but sorry, I was thinking Dallas side of the ball. Whoever their safety is.
I can't think of his safety.
I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But anyways, they're going to bring him down over top of him. But that's in the red zone. And any big receiver, you're going to have to double team in the red zone.
Yeah, I agree. So my sit of the week at wide receiver is DeAndre Hopkins. They're playing against Seattle, and we know that they have the Legion of Boom. And I think in this game, you're going to see Deshaun Watson struggle just because of the caliber of defense that we see.
Now, I completely agree with you. Like on that, I don't feel comfortable starting DeAndre Hopkins, but in most situations, you have to. But here's a twist, and you and I had discussed before the podcast. Now, their owner, I forget his name right off the... Yeah. So, McNair.
Bob McNair.
Yeah. So, he had said, we need to stop letting the inmates run the prisons, referring to NFL players to the owners and GMs. And he's also a multi-million-dollar supporter of Donald Trump. So, this guy, you can see the racist ties. You can see all these, long things, and you can interpret that however you want. But it's not a good thing. Nobody on the team found it a good thing. DeAndre Hopkins actually set out of practice. They didn't even show up, and they were going to have a required meeting about it, and he didn't want to show up to that. He said he doesn't want to play for somebody like that is racist like that. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. And then on top of that, even Bill O'Brien says that is unexcusable, and I stand behind my players. And it was just one of those things. Bill O'Brien didn't want to have a press conference. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Usually they have the open locker room before practices. Today they had closed locker room before practices. Multiple players did not suit up or participate in practice due to what Bob McNair said. I'm curious if this is going to be like how the Clippers situation was with their former owner a couple years ago, where it winds up the NFL comes out like the NBA did and forces them to sell the team, or forces him to sell the team, or if the players really want to send a strong message to him and forfeit the game to Cleveland and give them their first win this week. Hey, I know that's a long shot, but I'm just saying, if I want to send a point to my owner, that's the way I'm doing it.
Anything to get Cleveland to win. Let's get Cleveland to win, and then we'll worry about everything else.
But wouldn't that be the craziest way for them to get a win? And they win by forfeit. I'm
joking in that, but it's an unfortunate situation. We had the meetings last week with all the owners and some of the players, and supposedly it was a really good meeting, and they all got on the same page. And then McNair comes out and says something like this, so it makes you wonder: was he really honest with himself at the meeting? Was he really thinking about his team at the meeting at that point?
But they're not facing Cleveland; they're actually facing Seattle. But I'm just saying,
Seattle, yeah.
But that'd be crazy. But I'm just saying, to see DeAndre Hopkins. He is the leader of that team right now because Deshaun Watson's still young. He's still not the leader. He's still coming into. The kid could be quote unquote the Michael Jordan of the NFL. The kid got talent. He can play in high pressure games and primetime games just like he did with Clemson. But the thing is I feel like if they come together as a team and they want to send a message to their owner, don't suit up.
Yeah, sit. Everybody sit.
Yeah, they might get fined. I don't think the NFL would fine them because I don't think. The NFL might fine them because obviously fans would be disappointed and stuff like that. But it's one of those things that.
It would be technically insubordination if you don't show up.
Actually, I think they could get the players' union.
But yeah, you'd have a fight with players' union
because the players' union they would have to get it approved by them. But it would essentially be a holdout, like a team holdout. But it could be more than that, this is a long shot, but you see how the NFL, the players have came to stand together in unity by sitting, kneeling, whatever they needed to do. But they have been coming together as a whole doing these protests. What if What if teams actually like said, "Hey, we're not playing until our racist owners are gone"?
I mean, that would be a show of unbelievable unity and strength.
I would love to see that, but see, the thing is like when it comes to uniting people were so scared about, oh well, I don't want to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. The thing is the whole is stronger than one.
If you do it all together,
he's gonna get reprimanded. But if you have hundreds of people do something like stand up and protest, man, you can't whip everybody because there's only 3 leaders, but there's 300 of you.
Yeah,
like I'm just saying, like if there's 3 of you and those 3 people whip 2 people of 100. You got 298 other people that are going to come whoop your ass. Excuse my language.
It's true.
Sorry, I know that was kind of another rant and rave I kind of wanted to touch on today. All right, so tight ends. I've already covered one of mine, Jason Witten, so I'll let you go ahead and do your 2, and then I'll do my last one.
So my number 1 tight end start of the week would be Kyle Rudolph. I mean, he's facing Cleveland. We know Cleveland's one of the worst teams against the tight end. And
you could have left it at worst team, but it's all right.
They give up at least 69 yards per game, and they've allowed 5 touchdowns to the tight end so far this season. So I'm going Kyle Rudolph, and I think he's going to be involved with Case Keenum. And even if Diggs shows back up, I still think that there's a rapport with Keenum and Rudolph. That's my one of my go-tos this week, Kyle Rudolph.
Okay.
My other one I'll do real quick is Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham. The Texans currently give up the 8th most yards per game to the tight ends at 62 yards a game. So in the last 3 weeks, I believe it's been, Russell Wilson has been looking for this guy in almost every single play, and it's improved their offense a huge amount. And I think that going forward, Wilson and Graham are going to be that hookup that you're going to want on your team.
I don't doubt it. Graham has been disappointing for the season, but I can see it. My second start of the week for tight end, other than Jason Witten, is somebody I've been tooting his horn since the week he came back, and that's ASJ. You got to start him. I mean, that team has to have targets. Josh McCown loves him. I'm going to start ASJ. No questions asked. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I love ASJ.
Yeah. My sit of the week is actually Ed Dickson for Carolina. As I said before, I'm benching Cam Newton. Dixon has struggled the last couple weeks. I know a few people, even myself, had picked him up. Maybe he was going to be the Greg Olsen of the team. He looked like it for 2 weeks, and he has struggled to do anything that he did those first 2 weeks where he had just blew up.
My sit at tight end is George Kittle, the rookie tight end at San Francisco. I mean, it's just not clicking for him right now. I don't get it because Bethard and him, I believe they went to the same college. I think they both went to Iowa.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they should have familiarity, and for some reason, it's just not happening. So my sit is George Kittle.
I like George Kittle, too, but, I mean, not against my Philadelphia Eagles.
All right. So,
are we going to jump into the recap of top 12 picks of a draft from this year?
I mean, I was going to ask you a question. But
no, go ahead.
We can do that, too.
No, go ahead.
Seeing it's October and Halloween is right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, do you believe in ghosts?
No.
See, I'm always of the ilk that I'm not sure because it's not been proven, or I can't prove it, and I don't know if I've ever seen it with my own eyes. So I'm not sure.
I just no. Like, things scare me and all that. I won't lie. Like, you get the heebie-jeebies some nights, like when you're in your house, like by yourself and all that, and you hear fucking something move. Yeah, you get the heebie-jeebies. But I'm just saying, with all the cameras around, all these different things over the years and stuff like that, there should be more irrefutable evidence to prove something like that. Like, there's so much out there nowadays. Nothing can stay hidden. So if there was ghosts, we would know about it.
I mean, there's so much of gray area when it comes to that stuff that I just think that there's a possibility that there's something. I don't know though.
Do you believe in God?
I believe there's something higher and bigger than me.
I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I believe in Him. I believe all deities and all that are one of the same, essentially. Like, they're all different beliefs, but they all come from the same idea.
Yeah.
And it's just about being a good person. But I believe, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but I do believe in enlightenment, angelic enlightenment. Like, I guess you could say the supernatural type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I know ghosts classify as supernatural, but like I don't think there's a ghost that's gonna be watching over me, or I'm gonna have 13 ghosts like the movie. Which that's actually a really good movie. Good. Like I love watching that around Halloween.
It was good.
All right, so my question for you is, what are some of your favorite Halloween movies?
Oh, Halloween movies. I was thinking about this today just because I wanted to start watching them. Man, I like Gremlins.
Okay.
Old school Gremlins. I want to say, I don't want to name all the ones that everybody, Chainsaw Massacre. Everybody always names those.
I don't consider those Halloween movies, though. I consider those horror movies. Like, I'm talking about specific like Halloween.
I think Goonies. Goonies was a Halloween, I think. There was a part.
No. I don't know if I agree. Like, I'll give you a couple of mine.
Okay.
There's the cliche one, Hocus Pocus. That everybody loved watching that as a kid. But I'd say one of my favorite ones is Trick or Treat. It's a Halloween horror movie, and it's like the movie Crash. Like, there's so many different stories and perspectives going on at the same time, and it all wraps up in the same way at the end. Like, you see how it all ties together, and you're like, wow, it was really well written. It's kind of like a cult classic. And then I know Adam Rice is going to listen to this and make fun of me for this one, but you know what? I love it. Like, I love the attention. So I'm going to say Halloween Town on Disney Channel, the first one. I loved that when I was a kid, man. I watched that so much every year. Like, I wanted to watch it even when it wasn't Halloween. I was like, that was a great movie. The Cromwells, come on, man.
Nice. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's, I mean, you probably wouldn't like it, but like, for me, when it came out, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I was watching it on my tube TV that was like 23 inches, which was the shit back then. And I was just like, yeah. And I was just sitting Indian style in front of the TV, like on the floor, just like, Mom's like, get back here and go blind.
This is the best show ever.
Right? Like, I loved it. So, yeah, that's...
The only one I could think of is the Charlie Brown Great Pumpkin.
Or that's a good one. Oh.
Or Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay. I like
we
that.
watched that not too long ago.
I also liked the R.L. Stein
Goosebumps ones.
Yeah. Oh, those were good. All right. Sorry about getting off topic, guys. We're going to get back to this. So we're going to do a recap of the top 12 picks of a PPR draft from one of our leagues. We weren't going to do the listener league because it was an auction league, so it's kind of hard to do the top 12 picks. I guess you could do the top 12 paid players, but we kind of just decided this like 2 minutes before we started the podcast. So we're going to go with one of the leagues I run. It's my league of record that we use. Some of the players are on the podcast, like Anthony and Glenn and myself. Then a few of the others are just friends and coworkers over the years and family members. So the first pick of this draft, like, and on this recap, we're gonna like decide if these people were happy with these players. Like, are they happy with how it's panned out for them as at midseason, with week 8 right around the corner. So first pick was David Johnson, which at the time, that was a A+ pick. I mean, you can't go wrong picking David Johnson. I mean, how do you feel about that now?
Yeah, I mean, you had to go with him, either him or Bell at 1 or 2, and at 1, he had everything was looking up for him at number 1, and you can never predict an injury, and we all know that he went down with an injury, and now that's affecting him. So, I mean, it was great that you had the number 1 pick, but it sucked that he got hurt.
I completely agree, but with that happening, I mean, there's not a lot you can do. It kind of screws your season right there off the bat. So number 2, this was my pick in this draft. The way we did the draft order for this league was actually really fun. It's one of my favorite ways to do a draft order when you're not doing auction. So what we did was we each picked a team in the preseason, and over the games of the preseason, we tallied up how many points that team scored. Whichever team had the most, whoever picked the team that had the most points scored over the preseason got to pick first, and then so on in descending order. If 2 teams were tied, the way we decided that was points they allowed. So how many points were allowed, so we would keep track of that too. I kept track of it in my notebook, all this stuff. I actually picked Carolina Panthers. I think I was the 6th person to pick my team, and I was just like, because we kind of came up with the idea this year, and I was like, I'll let everybody have a chance to pick teams, and I was like, okay, I'll take Carolina. Everybody thought I was going to take Eagles. I didn't. Carolina was, I think, the second highest. They were the second highest scoring. The person who picked first, Stennis, picked Seattle Seahawks, who were just ridiculous in the preseason.
Okay, so your pick was
Le'Veon Bell. Yeah.
Are you happy with him?
Yes, I am. So there was a story behind this pick, though, because Anthony wanted David Johnson, and Anthony had the 9th overall pick in this. And we had discussed a trade, right? Like, So if for some reason the first person to picked Le'Veon Bell instead of David Johnson, he was going to trade up from 9 to 2, and he was going to be giving me a few other picks throughout the draft. Like I think he would be swapping first and seconds, like just completely swapping, and then I believe he was giving me a third and a fifth, or no, it was a fourth and a fifth. So and I was okay with it. So I was going to be picking 9 and I think like 15 or something.
9, 15.
And then I'd be picking pretty much at the end of the third round, and at the beginning of the fourth round, then at the end of the fourth round, and at the beginning of the fifth round.
Yeah, that would have set you up nicely.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have had a top 5 pick, but I would have like those mid round picks. I mean, I could take shots.
Yeah, you had plenty of ammunition.
So like I was really excited for that, and then he picked David Johnson. And I picked Le'Veon, so like we decided not to do the trade.
Yeah, it worked out.
And like it was a conditional trade, and I was fine with it. But I was still like even sketchy. If David Johnson fell to me, I don't know if I could have pulled the trigger. So, but no, I took Bell, and I'm happy with it.
Happy and loving it.
Started off slow, but I mean it's working good for me. I went running back heavy in this draft, and my wide receivers were kind of but it's working out.
Good. So number 3. Antonio Brown in this league.
Never go wrong with Antonio Brown. It is what it is. 3rd overall. That's exactly why I would take him, especially with the Zeke news at the beginning of the season of being suspended 6 games, not being for sure if he was going to play or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I take Antonio Brown there.
Yeah, I think the owner's happy there too.
Yeah.
Number 4 would be Julio.
Now, see, this is one of those things with the way the like draft fell and all that. Julio Jones at 4. Yeah, you're going to take him there. At the time, you feel good about it. But who I would have rathered have at this point, with how the season's gone, I mean, of course you would want Ezekiel Elliott no later than 4 for the season. I would have wanted possibly Todd Gurley, somebody like that up there. I know that seems like reach. I mean, Kareem Hunt. Like if you knew what you knew now, that's how it changes. But
yeah, you would definitely change some picks.
Julio Jones, I still would have picked in the top 12 picks.
Yep. Number 5 would be Mike Evans.
He's been struggling a little bit this year. He's getting the receptions. He's getting, I think he's had 2 touchdowns this year.
I think it's 2. Yeah.
I don't know. Like he's another player that he would have been top 12 for me, but I don't think I would have drafted him earlier than 9th.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that I want later on in the draft, the second half of the first round. I would be comfortable with.
I think I would have took like McCoy over him at this spot if I went back and I was to take him or have that 5th pick.
At number 6, we have Odell Beckham Jr. And again, it's that injury thing that happened, and you never can tell. So
I mean, if you would have known the injuries obviously like that, Odell probably wouldn't have been drafted in the top 4 rounds. I would have been completely okay taking, I mean, just about anybody else here. I would have took Michael Thomas. I would have took AJ Green, Ezekiel Elliott still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Todd Gurley, definitely right there.
Yep, I think so too. So number 7 in this league was Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy pick. My brother-in-law picked him, but it looked like a good pick right off the bat, right? Like, I mean, not off the bat during the draft, but like once the season started and Jordy Nelson was just producing, it looked good. But now that Aaron Rodgers is out, man, like
that's another one of those guys that I would want in the second half of the draft.
Yeah,
like. I mean, 7's a solid spot to have him, but I still think that's too high for me to have taken him. But I understand.
If I was going to draft him, I would have drafted him probably 13th or 14th outside of the top 12. But like if he would have been like if Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have gone out and you could have seen him produce the way he was producing the first 6 games.
Yeah,
I would have.
Yeah, so
drafted him there.
It's a backhanded injury that hurts this draft pick.
Yeah, it's definitely the stock of him going down due to Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. Number 8,
Devontae Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually okay with that. Like he's doing good. He's one of the best running backs in the league right now. He's producing. It's kind of hard. Like you look for stats to like try and hate the guy, and this is something Anthony told me. Like he was looking for stats to hate Devontae Freeman, and it wound up making him like him more. Like same thing with like me and Carlos Hyde. Like I was looking for stats to hate Carlos Hyde, and every time I did, I was like, this guy's just an animal. His yards per carry there. He's in better shape than he was, or since he's been in high school. And it's just like, Yeah, but no, I would have drafted Devontae Freeman. I actually probably would have drafted him 7th the way the season's gone.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's solid in everything that he does, and I mean that's what you look for in a first rounder. You want that solid production every week. I like Freeman. 8 is pretty solid for him too. Number 9,
LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy, one of my favorite running backs ever. All right, so definitely got a steal there at 9. Yeah. He should have been in the top 5, like easily.
Yep, I agree with that.
And even with the way the season's gone, Anthony should feel great about that. That was his pick right there. And that was one of the reasons why he wanted a top 3 pick because, I mean, everybody assumed that the top 3 picks were going to be Johnson, Bell, McCoy with Elliott out. And then, I mean, the way before the drafts happened, the top 5 were going to be, and the Elliott suspension were going to be Bell, Elliott, Johnson in some order, then McCoy and Brown in some order, and then you're going to go on the wide receiver.
Yep.
Number 10, AJ Green.
And, it's a perfect spot for a player like AJ Green. I love taking wide receivers in the second half of the first round.
Oh, I love, especially a player like AJ Green, and knowing that you could, at the time, if I would have had end of the round type draft, I would have gone for, AJ Green and Michael Thomas, or this was a 10-man draft, and he hit a home run with this because he got AJ Green and Melvin Gordon. Mm-hmm. Man, that was great job by him. He and I actually made a trade in this league. I traded him Todd Gurley for AJ Green because I didn't think Todd Gurley was going to keep this up, and it wound up working out for him. But I was stacked at running backs anyways, and I needed wide receiver help. So I mean, it kind of helped us both because he had Melvin Gordon, and he had pretty much nobody else at running back. So I mean, I think he was happy with AJ Green because that brings us to number 11 on the second round of the draft, and that would be Melvin Gordon for him.
I mean, that's a solid 1-2 right there.
Now, would you have drafted Melvin Gordon higher with the way he's been producing this year?
To me, when I was drafting in a 12 team, I was taking him around 6, just because I felt that he was going to have the production warranted a top 8 pick.
Yeah,
and I mean, he's been solid right now at 7 touchdowns.
I won't lie, I wasn't believing in him as much as I should have. I would have drafted him. I would have drafted Melvin Gordon outside of the top 12 before the season started. But with the way the season's gone, I would have drafted him probably 6th overall.
So then the number 12 would be Mike Thomas.
Mike Thomas, who's underperformed for the season. But I still think, even now, if you told me I had to pick him 12, I'm still probably picking him 12.
I mean, I love Mike Thomas. And, before the season started, all the signs were pointing him to having these great stats, because he was Drew Brees' number 1 target, and that's the only guy that they had to throw to. And we're finding out that Drew Brees is more than just focused on him. He's spreading the ball around.
He's been like that for years.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about, when I first got into fantasy football, because I had drafted Drew Brees, is on my first year, and it made my best friend Anthony, podcast or host of Markout Wrestling, we talk about him a lot, but it made him mad because I drafted Drew Brees, and Drew Brees, I was like, man, he's so good. I was like, everybody on his team has 1 or 2 receptions. I was like, he doesn't focus on anybody. That's why he's so good. And that's the thing, is he doesn't. Nobody gets more tthem 6 receptions on that team, but everybody has at least 1 reception.
Yeah, and we just recapped that first round, so let's name them off real quick. I'll do the first 6, and then you can take over.
Yeah.
So I got David Johnson, number 1, Le'Veon Bell, 2, Antonio Brown, 3, Julio at 4, Mike Evans, 5, Odell Beckham Jr. at 6.
Then you got Jordy Nelson at 7, Devontae Freeman at 8, LaShawn McCoy at 9, at 10, AJ Green, 11, Melvin Gordon, and 12, rounding it out, is Michael Thomas.
A funny thing is just noticing a few names that aren't in the first round that possibly could have been. Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, all could have been in the first round very easy.
Yeah.
All right, let me hit injuries real quick. Maybe some news and notes. Dan Bailey, kicker for Dallas, out at least 4 weeks with a strained groin. Emmanuel Sanders is questionable to an ankle. He didn't practice today, but they're on Monday night, so keep an eye on him. Golden Tate was also questionable with a AC joint. Kenny Galladay is out with a hamstring. Stephon Diggs, we mentioned him, he's questionable with a groin. Those are the injuries that I have for the week. You got any to add?
No, that sounds about it, actually.
So real.
Interesting thing, though, I guess, for Eagles, Ron Darby is questionable for our defense this week against San Francisco, which would definitely help our defense because he was our best cornerback already coming in for us on a short trade for the season. And if he comes back, I was like, that definitely reassures our defense.
That's
defensive
definitely
backs.
a boost. It's a boost
Because we have a top 5 front 7. Now we lost Jason Peters, left tackle, and Jordan Hicks, torn Achilles.
Speaking about defenses, Marcel Darius has been traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars to help improve their run defense. I think that's huge for them.
Yeah, but even at that, I mean, their secondary is so strong that, I mean, you could look at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and they only gave him a conditional 6th-round pick, so I mean, it doesn't really hurt them too bad. And Dontrell Inman got traded to Chicago. We mentioned that in the podcast. And that's about it. I do want to mention that 816podcasting.com is up and running. So go on, check it out. Let us know what you guys think. If you want us to add something, give us some feedback, help us out, listen to our podcast.
And if you have any experience with making websites or anything like that and you got tips and tricks for us, please let us know. I mean, this is one, like, I don't think any of us expected us to come this far and have a website before week 8. I know I wanted to have hundreds of views on the week 8 podcast, and it's kind of, our views have kind of gone up and down lately, been kind of inconsistent. But guys, just please go on Stitcher. It's easy to listen. It's my favorite way to listen to podcasts, unless like eventually we want to get on iTunes because I have Apple. But if you have Android, that's a perfect way to listen. You don't have to have the app up and running. You can have it in the background going on, and you can listen to the podcast while you're driving to work, Bluetooth, whatever you need to do. And rate and review us so we can be entered in for best podcasts. And yeah, it's a long shot, but hey guys, that's what we are, is a long shot.
So on the website, we had 85 hits since we launched.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
So, I mean, let's get, before next week, before Monday's podcast, I want to see that 85 hits go to 200, guys. Come on.
200 is a lot.
Come on, that's 115, and this is the first time we've talked about that's the website.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just saying. We get 100 views on our podcast. I was like, I'm just asking for 115 hits.
It's possible.
Come on, guys, hook us up, hook a brother up. We got this.
Like, share, add, subscribe, do all that good stuff for us. Keep up with the love.
Follow us on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow our personal ones on Twitter as well. I'm at McCoyCE. You got Glenn Smith. Man, I don't know how to say his.
Mine's at Thomas Carlack. Glenn is, I have it in a second.
Glenn Mika Smith or something. I don't know.
I'll have it in a second.
But then also follow 816 Podcasting. Listen to Mark Out Wrestling as well. Anthony and Glenn kill that. Rich is on there occasionally. It's good stuff, guys.
At Glenn Jammin, JAMIN _ Smith, SMITH, I believe.
Yeah. All right, guys. So please just hook us up, follow us, rate, review. Thank you very much.
Thank you.